Hey everyone, back with another tutorial. So we had a comment which was talking about the stereo field in this track that I was actually showing in another production lesson. And someone commented, "Oh, this has got a really, really great stereo field. How did you achieve that?" So I kind of just wanted to talk about that quickly, and just talk about how do you achieve width in a track. It's important to remember, though, before we talk about width, that most of the time you do want your track to sound good in mono. It's really, really important because most really big sound systems are mono, but sometimes you want width because you want movement in a track, and especially if you listen to it, let's say on like speakers at home or on like headphones, most of those will be in a good stereo field, but and you want to space things out and give them room and things like that. But really, the best tracks do have really, really good mono information. And you should be able to collapse your tracks into mono and for them to sound still pretty decent. But before I get into that, I will talk about the ways to achieve width in a track. But I will say that really do try to make sure you make your track sound good in mono. So I'm just going to play this song here and we'll break down a few different elements. I'm just going to first, let's say, focus on playing the totality of the track, and then we'll talk about how certain elements have different widths and how was that achieved. So let's go ahead and play this first. And here comes the stereo information. Okay, so when we first played the track, you could notice that there was more sort of mono or central information. And as this part kicked in, you really started to feel that width. So we'll play that again and I'll show you what you mean. This part will have more mono information. And as soon as this part comes in, you'll start to see those wide elements come in to create that room, create that niceness. And why I spaced them out the way we did to actually give them space to breathe. So, let's go ahead and play this again. Okay, so even though this part is in mono, there are still obviously, just remember, every element has stereo information and information in the mid and in the side. So no element, unless you've actually put it in mono, will not contain stereo information. That is different to creating width. So it's a bit of a relationship thing, which I'll probably talk about in another tutorial, but everything's going to have stereo information and everything's going to have mono information, and that's fine. You don't need to go too far and start cutting things out in the stereo field and trying to do that. I will do a separate tutorial on how to get a good mono mix, but eventually it just becomes really intuitive. But in terms of achieving width, there's three distinct ways. One way is through panning your elements left and right. Where is this one? Here we go. So you can see this one is panned to the left by 30 and to the right by 30. Another way to achieve it is through delay. And another way let's quickly pause and say there's a delay here. And there's like a delay on certain other elements as well, which I will try to find. Where's the up? Here we go. So there's some delays here, which also achieve width, and I'll talk about that. And then finally, your third ways to do it is through, let's say, something like a phaser. And a phaser will also move things left and right. So let's first talk about the simplest one, which is panning. So I'll just talk about, let's say, this example here and this example here. So in this particular example, I'll just play these two elements because these are quite wide elements. And when you're looking at, I'm just going to play this first, the bass line, and then I'll add these in and you'll instantly see the track gets a lot wider straight away. So let's just do that. Okay, so let's play this in solo. We'll play this one. And really, when we look at panning, obviously this is at 30, 50 is the highest. It really is as simple as that. So if you really want things to be in the stereo field, pan them. And one of the things you do with panning, though, is like I've got this 130 left and this 130 right. It's advisable that if you move one element really far left, try to have something that complements it on the right as well. This is obviously not absolute, but you want to be able to create balance in the track. So if I, let's say, play this by itself. Then if I add this second one in, which is 30 right, you'll see how it creates a little bit of balance. And I like doing that to keep things uniform. Okay. So that is a really, really good way to achieve stereo width. You just pan things left, you pan things right. And then on top of that, I guess another way to really achieve width is delay. Now, this is a really, really important tip here. Some delays will delay things wider, and some delays won't be as wide. So when you're trying plugins, delays are one of those things which it's meant to delay information into the stereo field, but some of them just don't go wide enough. So if you really want to have a good delay that goes wide to achieve width, you might not be able to achieve it with certain delays. So I'll give you an example of this. Let's just bring this element in. I'm just going to go off the whim here. So there's actually a delay here on the actual synth itself. This is using Spire. So let's just say I mute this delay. We'll see how it sounds. Now remember what I said. This sound still contains stereo information. And that's why it still sounds like it has width, because it is a stereo sound. So if I go ahead and let's say plug in, I'm just trying to find the Ableton utility. And let's still reduce the width of this sound and I'll show you what I mean. This is actually another really good way to create width, just using the utility. I don't really use this a lot, to be honest. But yeah, you can see how the sound went from both mono and stereo information to then started to just become wider and have more stereo information as we use this knob. So just remember that as well. Like if you really want to, let's say there's too much information in your mono field and you really want to make this wider, then use the utility or use a widening tool like this. Or otherwise, if you want to make it more mono, you can make it more mono as well. So let's play that again and we'll just go through it. Okay, so that's another really good way to achieve width. Now, with delay. One of the things you got to watch out with delay is that not all delays create equal width. So I'm going to use two different delays to give you an example of this. This will be a secret. So one is called Homeboys, and one is just the stock standard Ableton delay. And just watch how just applying the delay, each of them actually has a different effect. The Homeboys is actually a much wider delay, so it's only used for certain application, whereas the Ableton delay, it's not as wide. So it can be used on other elements that maybe you don't want as much width. And again, you can just use panning to achieve a widening result. So just play around with it. But essentially, let's have a play with the Ableton delay first. Okay. Now remember, with anything in the stereo field, you want to make sure you cut off the lows. So this is actually just an EQ here. Just want to make sure you cut off any of the low end information. Let's say below, there's no hard and fast rules, but at least 250 and below 300, 400. But yeah, I don't put anything in, like anything in the stereo field really. Anything below 400 should never be there, even 500. There's no, again, rule. There's no absolute rules here, but in the delays, just make sure you take the lows out. Not in the actual sound itself. But in the delays, make sure you take it out. Stereo field shouldn't really have any sub or low information. So that's the Ableton delay. I'm just going to play that again. Okay, now I'm going to turn the Homeboys on and just play that as well. Sorry, the preset wasn't only turned on at the end, but yeah, have a listen to this again. Yeah, see that there. So you can see how that really widens the sound and it creates like this metallic, nice metallic effect. You might not really want that every time, so you might want to use just panning, or you want to use the utility to create width. Play with it, see how it goes. But in this particular track, the reason, for example, this element here, this runner, it really is the clincher for why it sounds so wide and nice, because there's Homeboys on it and it's 30 to the left. So if I play this, that's really creating that nice width in the track as well. And obviously you can see the EQ there. This is actually for this cutting off at about 200 there. So low information is gone out of the delay as well. So yeah, it's actually got a low pass filter there. The frequency is 2000. We've made this a pretty high low cut, but yeah, that's sort of how you do it. You either use the right delay, which has what width in it. I also have the replica delay by Native Instruments, I believe. Yeah, I think it's Native Instruments. Yeah. So it's a replica delay, really, really good delay in Native Instruments. If I just turn this off and let's say just replace it. Yeah, it's a nice wide delay as well. So replica is and Homeboys are both wider than the Ableton stock delay, and you can use that to good effect. Like sometimes you want to delay sounds and you might use the Ableton one-on-one to keep the sound a little bit more central. And then you might use the Homeboys on another one to keep the sound wide. So yeah. Obviously make sure you're not overloading your sides too much. Creating space in the stereo field and creating cleanliness, I think probably leave that for another tutorial. This one's actually already gone pretty long. But just, yeah, make sure you don't leave low information in the stereo field. And yeah, that's going to help you a lot. And yeah, move your elements around left and right. I generally have a rule of thumb, like this is 30, this is 30. That means I don't use 30 again. This is 39, these acid stabs. So I've got stabs going, which is even wider. So if we play them, all right. I'll leave it there for today. Thanks very much for listening. If you do like this, definitely subscribe. Keep sending your suggestions in. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye for now.